Hello and welcome to this video demonstration of how I used the air transport passengers carried dataset by the WorldBank.org. This data consists of entries from 1970 till 2016 of passengers carried around the world. As you can see in this page, this is the original dataset provided as a comma-separated values. This data obviously needed to be cleaned and prepared for database migration, so using Notepad++, I adapted this CSV file into a cleaner version which would be easier to use for a bulk insert. This is the resulting file. As you can see, I removed the inverted commas, changed some extra commas from the data itself, and changed the row terminator into a hashtag. Once the data was clean, I used Microsoft SQL Server to store this data into a database. I created an ETL script which consists of creating the database, cleaning up any existing tables, creating the necessary tables, and preparing the data. The first step was to create a temporary table, bulk insert it into this temporary table from one of the CSV files provided, and this data was extracted from the temporary tables using simple queries and inserted into our tables. Once the first CSV file was finished, I dropped the table and recreated the temporary table with different specifications to store the next CSV file. Now in this file, the data is pivoted, as you can see, where the years are set to columns. So I had to manually set this data as it is at first into the temporary table, and then when I was inserting this data into my table, I used the unpivot tool to get the data however I needed it. Once all the data was ready, I dropped the temporary table again and created a view to make sure that I join the tables and which produces a report necessary for this visualization. For data visualization, I use Microsoft Power BI to generate reports needed for this research. In the first sheet, you can see a simple line graph with the count of passengers throughout the years. And as you can see, the number of passengers have been increasing during the past decades, and at 2010 there was an even steeper increase which kept on going up until 2016, basically throughout the rest of the data. In the next demonstration, I created a visualization of all the countries, regions, and income groups in one report. Using this tool, I am able to select any region, or even more specific, any country or any income group, and the main report, which is the main visualization, which is a ribbon chart, adapts to the selection I choose. For example, if I choose North America, you can see the North America part in this region is highlighted. What's interesting about this visualization that you can see that the top three regions, which are North America, East Asia and Pacific, and Europe and Central Asia, changed throughout the years, from the North American region being ranked number 1, and Europe and Central Asia ranked the 2nd, and East Asia Pacific ranked 3rd. And in 2010, East Asia and Pacific has surpassed Europe and Central Asia, correct? And once again in 2013, if I'm not mistaken, yes, it also surpassed the North American region, which led to East Asia and Pacific becoming the highest ranked region by 2016. Apart from Microsoft BI, I also use Microsoft Excel to create some forecasting. To start things off, I used Microsoft SQL to generate the top 20 countries of 2016, and I did forecasting on Microsoft Excel for these countries. As you can see, I then took the last value of 2028 and ranked them in this sheet, so I would get the top 10 countries of 2028 and top 10 countries of 2016. Using these two values, two data sets, I created these two examples which highlights the changes in the two examples. For example, in 2016, you can see that the number one ranked country was United States, as we previously saw in our previous analysis, and the second country was China, third country was UK, fourth country was Ireland, whilst in 2028 we are forecasting that the number one country would be China, second USA, third India, and fourth Ireland. This means that India will overtake Germany, Ireland, and the UK, and it will become the third highest ranked country. Apart from these findings, I also found that the East Asia and Pacific will hold or may hold around 35% of the total passengers in the world by 2028, of course, and the world passengers will nearly double when compared to the size of 2016, and more passengers will be coming from low and middle income than high income. To prove this data, these forecasts, this is the forecasting technique I used. This is the forecast for the high income, and as you can see, by 2028 I am forecasting a 2.6 billion passenger count, while for the low and middle income I am forecasting a 2.7 billion passenger count, which means it will or surpass the high income passengers by over 100 million. In the world forecasting, I am forecasting that by 2028 there will be 6.3 billion passengers, whilst in 2016 there were 3.7 billion, which also means that the passengers will nearly double in the next 10 years. This is the forecasting for East Asia and the Pacific, and as you can see, the increase will keep going up, which will result to a 2.2 billion passenger count, which when compared to the all of the world forecast, that would result in nearly 35% of the total passengers around the world. This is another forecast for North America, which is a 1 billion passenger count by 2028, of course, and when compared to East Asian Pacific will nearly be twice the size of that of North America. When compared to the demonstration shown in Power BI, North America was the highest ranked region in the previous years, so that is an enormous increase in passengers for the East Asian Pacific. Thank you very much.